everyone to the first item in the agenda is called to order to the meeting. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Next is the approval of the minutes from the February 23rd Finance Committee meeting. Do I have a motion?
I move approval.
Any questions, discussions? No? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The motion carries. Next in our agenda is the public appearances for non-agenda items. Do we have anyone in the chamber?
No one in the chamber, Madam Chairman.
And what about on the phone or?
Not on the call.
Okay. So thank you. So next we move to item 4, Finance Director Report. So the first item, we are going to talk about the Treasury report for December 31st, 2020. I'm sorry. Okay, Misty.
So in the packet tonight is the December Treasurer's Report. So I'll remind you, because we're still working through the stuff with the audit, that is only kind of the first half of the report that you usually receive, because the other numbers were not in a place to be distributed at that point. But the audit is currently underway, so we should have final numbers relatively soon, and the CAFR will come out soon. But what's in there is basically the cash balances for December. You will notice there's a pretty significant increase in the total amount of money that we have, and that's because of the tax collection. So we collect a lot of money between, say, December 15th and the end of the year.
Any questions? Randy. Do you have a question, Randy?
I do. I'm just turning my mute off.
Okay.
Misty, the income, interest, and closing cash on page 6. There's a significant increase or variance, I should say, from month to month to month, and then, of course, toward the end of the year. Can you explain the reason as to why there's some months that it increases and suddenly it decreases again? Considerable variance. Can you explain the difference or why that's happening?
Oh,
absolutely.
I don't follow. In which page we are?
The very last page, except for, I take that back. The last page with the investment components. I show it as page 6.
Would you like me to share my screen? Would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Yes.
I can do that.
So we know what we are.
Yep. So let me do that. Randy, I assume it's this page?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
If you may, I'd like to take a step back for a moment. So this page in particular is the portion of the city's portfolio that we hold at WISC, which is financed or administered through PMA. So this is just one piece of our overall picture of all the different investments that we have. And so this top part of it is all the different CDs that we've invested in through PMA or through WISC. And you can see what that is. But the piece you're asking about here, Randy, this is I'll call it the money market portion of the money that we have at PMA. And I'll say 2020 has been an unusual year. Usually we would have this closing cash or the cash amount to be pretty close to zero because we want to be invested in as many fixed income items as we can. That's why we are with PMA and WISC. But with 2020, we had a lot of CDs that were matured. That's what the sales and redemptions and transfers column is. So a lot of things that are falling off the ladder as expected. But I haven't been purchasing as many replacement CDs in 2020 as what I would have in other years. This is in consultation with our advisor at PMA. Ultimately, it comes down to the rates right now are not attractive. You can see that I have invested in some recently. These last 3 are at 0.12 and 0.13%, and we're stuck at that rate through 2022. And right now in this money market account, I'm making more than that on that money. So It's all liquid, which is nice. So the investor and I continue to look at kind of what the market is doing and see if there's opportunities to invest in a longer term at an attractive rate. But as lately, we just haven't had CDs that have come in that have been attractive, frankly. So that money is still invested. We're still making interest on it. And actually, it's more than what I would get on a CD at this point. Not the strategy that we usually like to do, but COVID kind of messed up the market.
Right. That's what I had suspected, but thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
Of course.
Any other question? Okay, so next, Misty, we move to the Finance Department Annual Report.
Yeah, so every year, each department does an annual report. This is the Finance Department's one. We do have a long agenda tonight, so I won't go part by part through it. But I like how our report lays out kind of the special projects that happened during the year. You got some good trends as far as how things have been growing and shaping over the last 5 to 10 years. And then it lays out our expenditures and our debt and things like that too. So it's just a nice, simple-ish, easy to read document to show kind of how the department has operated in 2020. Other than that, so 2 other items for the group. So we are under audit currently. So the auditors, they're doing it virtually, but they are looking at our books now. I think I mentioned at an earlier meeting that we weren't as organized as what we've been in the past. So things are a little rougher, obviously working our way through it. Things are looking good. It's just taking a little bit more time to get all that documentation pulled together. But that's happening now. And then also today we had our second interviews for the account clerk position that's open. So looking forward to getting that position filled so we can get back up to full staff.
Can I ask a question about this report? I think it's great because I read it last night and it was kind of like, it's an overview, financial overview and explaining what happened last year, So thank you. I think it's look great. When I was reading the section of the town of Madison, on the first page, there was a phrase there that it caught my attention, that it said that there are also some complication expected during the transition that needed to be researched and negotiated. So do we know which one are those?
So I know what some of the issues are going to be as this happens. Obviously, there's a financial impact. So whatever the net either cash or net amount owed at the end of the day needs to be split between us and the city of Madison. And so under the agreement right now, there is a kind of a default allocation included in there, absent something else getting negotiated. So there's kind of that piece of it, and then how we're going to afford our portion of what I suspect will be an end of the day liability at the end of it. But there's also just some procedural question, how are tax bills going to work? How are court payments going to work? How are, W-2s and 1099s that have to get issued at the end of the year for the town? How is that going to work? What state shared revenue is going to look like? So there's a lot of uncertainties that we still need to make sure we figure out between now and then.
No, I understood that there were some new complications that we knew. You know what I mean? This is what I understood that paragraph, like, we found out something new, you know what I mean? Like, we need to take care now. You know what I mean? Okay.
Yeah, my intention was more just that we looked at it a little bit in 2020, but obviously will continue to be explored over the next couple of years.
And Gabriela.
Yeah, I just wanted to mirror what Julia said about the report's fantastic. I'll probably share it out with some of my through my social media channels and my blog, just because I think it gives a really good picture of the city finances if people want to know more in a very concise fashion. I did want to note on page 13, I thought that was, I hadn't realized that we refinanced the library debt and that was going to have such a great impact for the city in terms of saving us money in the long run. I don't recall that happening, so that's fantastic, and just wanted to make that note for anybody that is watching that. So thanks so much. Great work.
Absolutely. Glad you enjoyed the report.
Well, the accountant, we enjoy it. Okay, any other question? I like the part of the tax incremental district because, you know, we have the amount from the original amount, the increment that we expected and when they're gonna close, and then all the major project that we have done in some of the tax incremental district, and it's a good visual because it say, okay, we got all this money, but we invest all that money in this project. I think that one is great. You know what I mean? So, okay. So thank you, Misty. So next we move to the review of all the bills. Okay. So we are going to start with the first batch. Is a detailed review of all check for $10,000 and above from February 16 to February 28th. Totaling $824,875.23. Do you have a question? No? Okay.
There is a question.
Oh, a question where? Randy, okay.
Misty, regarding the Delta Dental, I noticed it's in two-month increments. Is that typical, or is it it just happened? Did it just happen to fall in that manner this time around?
Yeah, that's definitely not typical. I would say that would have been a casualty of us being short-staffed. So a lot of things have been kind of shuffled around as we try to make sure that we at least keep things moving forward. So I'm going to guess that we ended up paying 2 months. We fell behind on the one and then caught up with the next one.
Okay.
And actually, that's a fair point too. So there's more tax refunds coming. We actually issued the last batch of property tax refunds either yesterday or the day before. So people should be getting those soon, and you will see that final batch on the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next we move to the detailed review of all check issued, check number 121-849-121870, dated February 16 to the 28th, totaling $854,935.15. Any question?
Yep, I got one.
Okay, Gabriela.
Page 27 of the packet, page 3 of the section, the TID 6 hazardous material assessment. I was wondering if we knew what that was.
That is part of the McKee Road project. So a portion of the McKee Road reconstruction is getting paid for by TID, and a portion is paid for by borrowing. So they must have had to do, I don't know what the specific project was, but I can tell you it was related to the McKee Road
Got it.
project.
Thanks.
Any other question? Okay, so next we move to the next batch. Is a detailed review of ACH payments for $10,000 and above, dated February 1st to the 28th, totaling $478,763.69. So these one are regular, retirement payment and all of that. Nothing weird. So next we move to the detailed review of all ACH payments dated February 1st to the 28th, totaling $505,265.93. Any question? No? Okay. So next we move to the action items. And the first one is I need a motion to approve ordinance 2021-0-03, amending the Chapter 35, Section 77 to adopt Wisconsin Administrative Code SPS 302.31 related to fee schedule for building, structure, heating, ventilation, and fire protection systems.
Motion to approve.
Okay, who is gonna talk about this, Mr. You or?
Yep, I will.
Okay.
So there's actually 2 items that are related. The first one is this ordinance, and then later you'll see a resolution to adopt the fee schedule. What this is right now, the fire alarm and suppression system plan reviews are being done at the state, but our staff has the training and capability to do that plan review in-house. So this ordinance first adopts all of the required rules for the state and authorizes us to do those plan reviews. And then the resolution later on will establish the fee schedule to perform that service. And that fee schedule is set by the state.
Okay, I have a question. So we are gonna collect a fee only for our city?
I believe so. I mean, we would only do the plan review for projects that are in our city, I believe.
So we are gonna incur any admin cost?
So there will be fees associated with it from a staff perspective, but the cost time should be recovered by the fee that we charge for that service.
And who is the staff that is gonna be doing
So it's our building inspection team.
the building inspection? Okay.
And I will note that the additional revenue was reflected in the 2021 budget. So this is something that's been talked about kind of in the past. This is just formalizing it so that we can actually do that review now.
Yeah, I have another question for the fee about how it's gonna impact the 2021 budget. Is it we need to do an amendment to the budget? No?
Nope, it was already incorporated in. So
Okay.
if you go to the executive summary for the building
Yeah.
inspection piece at the bottom, we
Yeah.
acknowledge, I think it was $10,000 worth of revenue. That honestly, that might be a little high for the first year,
Okay.
but I think we'll be okay with the rest of the building permits that we expect to come through.
So when we are gonna start with this in the, like immediately or in the
So
summer?
it has to get published first, and there's a
Okay.
couple other, I guess, procedural items that need to be completed. And then it's dependent on what projects come in that need review. So it'll be reactive to what comes in down the pipeline.
So I want to understand what is that. So the building inspector are gonna go and review any type of building in the city, like all and new and,
So these would be construction plans for a new building. And so
oh,
they have to go through the review of their fire alarm and their sprinkler system plan. So it would be reviewing that part of the new building,
okay,
make sure it complies with the requirements.
okay.
et cetera.
Any other question? No? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance 2021 0 -0-03, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstention? Okay, the ordinance is approved. So next, I need a motion to approve ordinance 2021 0-04, an ordinance amending purchasing and public contract ordinances, Chapter 10, Article 4, Section 10-303 through 10-447 of Fitchburg General Code of Ordinances.
I move to approve.
Okay. So, Misty,
Yeah, I'd like to share my screen on this one again, if that's okay, just to bring up the memo that was in there. So to back up for a moment, so the city's purchasing policy is as required by the ordinance. So the city council really can only do anything on behalf of the city unless you delegate that authority to somebody else, whether it's staff or the mayor or whoever else. Council has to delegate that authority to someone else. The way that purchasing process has been delegated has been through these purchasing policies within the ordinances. So the ordinances have been the same for a long time. I've gotten a lot of feedback from various departments on ideas on how to streamline things and also some questions that have come up while we're going through various scenarios. This has been on my radar for, frankly, a couple of years now. We keep hoping that the public construction threshold would change at the state level in state statutes, which would kind of result in some changes or recommended changes there too. But that hasn't been happening, keeps getting introduced and then not getting approved. So decided we just needed to move forward with this at this point, just to get kind of this piece of it done. And then this is an ever evolving thing. So there are some other ideas that have been presented that we'd love to propose in the future too. We thought this was a fair step in that direction. So there's some clarification changes that were included in there, added some definitions. Some specific ones to point out would be the purchasing policy was established before we implemented our on-base agenda management software. And so we used to have a bunch of different paths where something could get approved that would just need finance or need finance and council, et cetera. And with the new agenda management and kind of the workflow, we consolidated that. So really the only time finance ever sees something would be if it's by resolution. So kind of cleaned up that language to make that in line with what's actually happening with there. So this language now is a little more restrictive, I would say, than what the previous ordinances could have allowed, but is in line with what we do with our process now. Some of the bigger changes, though, are these streamlined processes, allowing for contracts to be reviewed every 5 years instead. Right now, contracts are limited to 3 years, allowing that to go to 5. Added some additional, I call them routine purchases. So a great example here is the city has we're a part of a consortium, MPSIS, for our IT police department infrastructure. It's approved through the budget. We are required under contract to make that payment. And so why would we bring that back to council for you guys to look at it again when you've already seen it multiple times? And it's something that we frankly have to do. So that's one of the ones that we've added in here. There's a variety of others too. And we can go to the redlined version so you can see what all of those different proposals are. But also are proposing to increase the first pre-approval limit. So right now, things that are 2,500 or less has department head discretion to make sure they're looking for the best value. 2,500 to 25,000 is approved by the mayor at the top level, and then 25,000 and above is council. So we're keeping the 25,000 and above through council because that lines up with that public construction statute that I mentioned before. But we're proposing to increase the level at which the mayor has to approve it from 2,500 to 5,000. This is in line with public construction statutes. That's where that $5,000 number comes from, and will just help streamline some of the purchases. In general, I'll say the department heads all really take serious the value that the city gets. We make sure that we do get quotes and all of those things when appropriate. And I think that increasing that limit will help streamline that process for the departments, but also not open for too much more risk than what we're currently doing. And then there's a clause about December purchases that's in there currently, which is a lot of paperwork for very little impact. So I'm proposing that we remove that item as well. So the redlined version is all in here. You can see what those specific items are. This would be the proposal from me with input from the rest of the department heads and the rest of my team and the rest of the staff. But ultimately, council has control over what authority you will delegate to staff and to the mayor. Stop share. Julia, you're muted.
I have several questions, and I'm gonna go through the document. So in the streamlined processes, the second bullet, can you give us an example of when you will do this?
So those are all listed in the ordinance. So if you go to the general purchasing procedure, it's on page 36 of the packet or page 5 of this particular thing, section 10.307, subsection 1. It lists the different exceptions. You know what, should I share my screen again? That might make sense.
Yeah, you need to keep that because I have several questions about that document.
So right here is the list of those different exceptions that we're proposing. So some of them were included there originally. You can see so it used to be just office supplies, utility bills, benefits, payroll, etc. And then we're adding these ones instead, some of which are the same as what was before, and some of which are additional.
So if I am redefining this, so you are going to have the discretion to authorize these purchases, even though they are more than $25,000, but they are within budget.
As long as they're within budget, yes.
But they're going to come to council or the finance committee at one point, or no? Or you say are fine and.
So you would see them through the budget process. You would be able to see it at that point. And then the checks reviews that we do, you would see all of them at that point too. You would just not provide the permission to sign the contract or to make the purchase ahead of time. You would see it ahead of time at budget, and then you'd see it after the fact. Again, the concept of it is these are all routine items, low risk, happen a lot. Even though they are big dollars amount like Metro Transit, it's something that we know that council wants us to do and has committed to. So be able to make that payment.
Okay. So my other question is, did you show this to the auditors for internal purpose and control, so they are okay with this language?
So the auditors would not look at the purchasing policy necessarily. They would make sure that whatever purchases we make are in compliance with this policy. I can share it with them. I can't imagine that they would have any concerns over this item, but definitely could.
No, but in general, everything that we are going to discuss, all the purchasing policies that we are going to discuss and approve tonight, if they are going to take a look to see, if we are, follow the process, a procedure, the internal control, something, you know what I mean? That's it. I want to know.
Yeah, so these ordinances set that internal control. So the auditors their testing would be to make sure that we comply with these rules, not necessarily what the rules are.
Okay, then.
Can I ask another question about this particular section? So under this new ordinance policy, some of the pre-approvals that we've looked at over the last couple of months would not come before council in future years. Is that correct? So for example, the bulk diesel purchases that we looked at last council meeting, that would no longer come in front of the council.
Correct. If this is approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you say from it, so I guess as a new council member, those pre-approvals are useful in terms of, understanding big purchases that are coming through, even though they're pretty standard and we're probably going to improve them. It's nice to get introduced to them again in like a one-off way rather than looking at the entire budget document. But I guess my question then becomes, will this save staff time? Is that part of the reason why you're streamlining this? Is just like you don't have to go through all the motions of developing the resolution and having it go through and waiting on the purchase until it goes through council? Is that the reason why you want to make that change?
Exactly. And so it saves finance department time, but it also saves a lot of time at the department head level. And if you look at the pre-approvals that we do, the bulk of them are public works. And so as much as we can streamline these routine, low risk, minimal impact items will help staff.
Okay. My question is, what happens if those routine, low risk, there is an adjustment in the quote on the, so they're going to come to council for approval?
If there's an adjustment in the what?
If there is an adjustment in the contract, suddenly, we approve it in budget for X amount, but then when something happens and we need to pay our first installment and there is a change, in the price. So how do as a council we will know that there are some changes,
Yeah. So the projects where that happens more so are things that would continue to be the purchasing policy that is in place now. So these things here, like the Metro Transit or the MPSIS bills, are set during budget and is the same throughout the year. And as long as it meets budget, I assume council would be okay with that. If it goes over budget, then the budget amendment ordinance kicks in and we have to make sure that we notify the council and figure out how we're going to pay for it. But as long as it's within budget, and as what was expected, I think that I would suspect that would be okay.
Can you go up a little bit there, the first paragraph, you say all existing contracts for purchase services, regardless of degree of satisfaction, shall be reviewed by so the finance committee is out, common council is in. So why we are doing that change?
So everything still gets approved by council and council refers it to the finance committee for your input. But council ultimately has that final say on whether or not you proceed with the purchase or not. So we added under the discretion of the finance committee or under the direction of the finance committee. Finance committee makes that recommendation to council. Council makes the final call.
Yeah, so okay, so but if we are start taking, all of these, roles from the finance committee, what is going to be the finance committee role?
So
You know what I mean?
So this is in line with what we're doing currently. So finance committee is not making that final decision on these purchases.
No, I
We're
know.
making a recommendation to council. So this is in line with what we're doing currently. And as we all know, finance committee is very busy and is still looked upon by the council for what your thoughts are and what your recommendation is.
Yeah, but we are another layer of review,
Yep.
or another layer of recommendation. You know what I mean?
Exactly, and I'm not proposing that changes. I think finance committee is important because you do have that specialization in the money part of it.
Okay, so I have another question on section 10-308.
Okay.
So why did you add? They said it had to be signed by the department head, and then it was added with the approval of the city attorney. Why do we add the city attorney?
Because I believe the city attorney should approve every contract, or at least review every contract that the city enters into to make sure that it is legally sound.
But every contract for less than $5,000, we say here.
Yep.
So for purchases for less than $5,000, do we need the city attorney to review those too?
I think for anything that has language that could be concerning to the attorney, we want to make sure that they see that. I mean, I wouldn't want department heads to sign something, even if it's small, if it has something in there that would be concerning to the attorney.
But these are more for contract, not for purchase orders.
This would be contracts, correct?
So then the section 10-310, the whole section was removed. That one is the one that section is gonna be replaced, is the one that is in the streamline section that we mentioned at the beginning.
Yeah, so this is, again, just getting the ordinances in line with what we're doing currently, where right now, anything 25,000 and above has to go to council. There isn't an extra kind of path forward that something could take. So the portion that used to be 50,000 and above has been dropped to 25,000 and above, which is in line with public construction statutes. And then this middle kind of option is taken out because that's not applicable anymore. And I guess just my theory on all of this is I like to have as many single paths as possible. So rather than having it could come this way and go there, or in this situation has to go here, but if it's public construction, there's this other set of rules. I just wanted to make it as clear as possible. If it's 25,000 or more, it has to get council approval with recommendation or direction from the finance committee.
Okay. So next section 10-313, women and minority-owned business to be encouraged to bid. So so why do we remove? I understand. Why do we remove the last sentence? The last part of the paragraph. How do we are gonna outreach to those vendors if we remove that?
So the reason why I removed it from the ordinances is because the titles and the departments at the state level will change often, and pamphlets that are referenced here may or may not exist currently or in the future. And so just wanting to eliminate some of those targeted items. Obviously, we'd still have to figure out what that equivalent would be at the time, and then make sure that we are looking for as many vendors to do business with as possible. And then later we talk about or maybe it's right above. So Economic Development Department does have a list of all of the different businesses in the city. They don't keep track of minority and women-owned, I don't believe, but they do have that other list. So since they're already keeping it, have that one central location rather than having multiple lists throughout the city.
Yeah, because in this case, most of the women and minority-owned businesses, I know that you need to be registered with the city of Madison to do business with them, and then there is another certification with the state too. So I know that the city of Madison have list, and the state has their own list.
Right.
Because there is a process where you need to register with the state to be considered like if I am a woman and I have my own consulting engineer firm and I want to do business with the government, I need to go through a certification process. So this is what I am asking that because I want to know, how the city of Fitchburg, when we go to bid, how we do, we should know where we need to have access to those lists too, you know what I mean?
Right. And we still do have access. My concern was just that the titles might change or the specific department that it's in may change.
Okay.
So like right here, it's talking about the State Department of Development, which I believe has been replaced by a new department of something at the state level. So the requirement is still in here. We're still, encouraging women and minority-owned businesses. That the intention is still there. It's just the mechanics of how that gets done is not spelled out because that might change. And we don't want to violate our ordinances because that doesn't exist anymore.
I have another question on this section, if I can jump in.
Okay, go. Ask.
So that definitely makes sense. The thing I'm thinking is that that first phrase that is eliminated, the first part of that section that's eliminated, and by contacting in advance appropriate vendors, that phrase indicates to me kind of an active outreach to minority and women-owned businesses, whereas the previous phrase where it says interested businesses which contact the city implies that the businesses take the first step to say, we are interested in finding out about bidding, keep us in the loop. So it's like one is the responsibility of the business, and the other is sort of the responsibility of the city. And so I just feel like excluding that entire phrase changes the spirit of the paragraph in a way. And I'm curious if that was intentional or if that's just kind of a consequence of staff time or, can you comment on that?
Yeah, so to be honest, we don't have a way in the finance department that we're tracking to make sure that the field is expanded, that there's that active outreach to any vendors. So we do document on the pre-approval form kind of that it was posted on Quest CTN and or it's published in the paper and all of that stuff. But we don't currently monitor any of the other requirements that are in there.
Okay,
so I can't speak to whether or not the departments are doing it.
Okay, so eliminating that is somewhat intentional because we really don't have the capability to do that outreach. Is that what I'm hearing?
Partially, yeah. Because Julia brought up that the city of Madison has kind of their own registration system. I can say Fitchburg very much so does not have the resources to go through that level of detail, but obviously still want to encourage women and minority-owned businesses to apply for different projects that we have.
Okay.
And again, this is just my recommendation. So if council or the finance committee wants to recommend something different, more than welcome to.
Okay.
Yeah. I think this is an interesting topic. I just wonder if there's another way to, because I do sympathize with the fact that staff only has so much time to do this, but I wonder if there's some way we can encourage that. Anyway, it just got me thinking, but I do think that in some ways this changes the spirit of it, and that's not necessarily an incorrect way to make that change, but just wanted to point it out.
Okay, I have another question, Misty, on section 10.338.
338.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here you say that purchase order shall be issued by the finance department is we added, and we remove the sign by the department head. So why we are doing this? What is the?
So this comes down to software. So we are now using OnBase to track all of that. So department heads are approving it electronically. So that's
Okay.
still happening, but we aren't printing the piece of paper anymore. And department heads used to have to sign that piece of paper. That just isn't happening with electronic capabilities now.
But the head of department, they will be informed of this, you know. It's not like they're gonna be out of the picture.
Oh, no. I mean,
Huh.
honestly,
Okay.
we weren't making them print it out and sign it ahead of time. So I would call this kind of a cleanup
Oh,
item.
okay.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Alder Frada, Bill,
Yes.
Bill Balky has a question.
Okay. I don't see him. Okay, Bill?
Thank you. With regard to contacting other businesses, minority and women-owned, what I could do is I could reach out to the city of Madison and get their list that they have, maybe on an annual basis. And then as projects come up, that we could possibly include those in there in our bidding, specifically sending them an invitation where they qualify for things.
Bill, that
Okay.
would be fantastic if you're able to do that. I would love, I think that would be fantastic.
We do keep a list for contractors that typically bid in the area, and like consultants, they ask to be put on a list. So we do keep some lists available, but we don't go out and actually, seek them out because it's hard to find those. So it's, if other people have lists, it's something we can incorporate into our bidding.
Okay. Good point. So I have another question for the team. So if you don't have any, I can go. Section 10-446. Yeah, so 446, I think is the last page.
Lots of scrolling. There we go. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Then they say all contracts shall be signed by the mayor and city administrator. The city administrator is strike out, and then controller. So the controller is why controller, why not finance director? Who is the controller in the city?
So the comptroller for the city is the city administrator. So we aren't
Okay.
actually changing anything with this change. But the statutes do say that the comptroller has to sign the
Okay.
contract. So
But
while
the
we're not
controller is
changing,
the city administrator.
correct. So we're not changing our process. We're just
Okay.
making the words the same as what the
Oh, okay, the language. Okay. Yeah, because that person could be different people in different organizations. So, okay. So I don't have more question. 1 second. I don't know. And when it was the last time that these urgency, policies were updated in the city? Do you know?
I do not know. So I've been here since 2014 and they
Mhm.
haven't been updated since then. I know the entire municipal code was all changed in 2009. So I'm sure that they were looked at then, but I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't been changed since then, but I can't confirm.
So my last question, so the people are watching is, so doing this, so we are being more flexible, we are being more, some departments have more control over others, or, so the finance, I want to, in general, what is what we're doing this, to streamline the process, but we're being more flexible and more
Yeah, so there's those two goals. So one is frankly cleaning up the ordinance for what we're doing currently, and just to avoid those questions about what our process is more restrictive than what the ordinances are. So just making those combined so that they're in sync. But then the streamlined process it does allow more flexibility for staff. It is putting some more trust in your department heads for those smaller dollar purchases. And then for those routine items as well. It's relying on your team to make sure that we're following the budget as authorized by the council and directed by the council, but then trying to eliminate some of the busy work, for lack of a better phrase. You know, if there's no value added to it coming to council, why put both council and the staff members through that extra administrative burden?
Okay, any other question or comment? No? Are you ready to vote and approve this the way it is? Yes? No?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so where we are? Okay. So all those in favor of ordinance 221-0-04, say aye.
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 Nays? The motion carries. Okay. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-40-21, amending the 2021 fee schedule to adopt a state fee schedule for fire alarm and fire suppression system plan review into the building inspection fee schedule.
Motion to approve.
Okay. So this is related to the first one, the first ordinance, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So this then is establishing the fee schedule
Yeah.
to provide that service, since the fee schedule has to be adopted by resolution. So that's separate. And then I'll say that the fees are also as required by state statute. So we don't really have much flexibility in what those fees are that we're charging.
So you mentioned that when we approved the 2021 budget, it was there, but like a lump sum, isn't it? Something like that?
Yep.
And now we have more details. Okay. So this is why we don't need to make any changes to the budget.
Correct. The revenue, the increased revenue is already incorporated.
Any questions? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-40-21, say aye.
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 Nays. The motion carries. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-41-2021. A resolution authorizing approval of bids for construction of public improvement for East Sherwood Parkway, Promega. This is a direct referral.
I move to approve.
Okay, so Bill is here, isn't it?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the construction for East Sherrill Parkway. It's part of the Promega development agreement where they had to install certain improvements such as Fayette Glen, East Sherrill Parkway, Woods Hollow, associated with their new development that is being constructed right now. Public Works requires that all public contracts, including those privately bid, using the public bidding system, be approved by the Board of Public Works and Council. So this was put on the agenda for approval. They met the state statutes for bidding, and the bid is a valid bid, and we're recommending approval to the contractor to start construction.
So on this one, my other question is, all of these expenses, costs are under, they're gonna be absorbed in the tax incremental district, isn't it?
Yes, I think.
So, yeah, so the Promega is going to pay for these costs upfront, and then there's a portion of it that will be reimbursed to them through the tax increment based on the development agreement that was approved.
And it's gonna be $467,000.
The total amount that will be reimbursed is more than that, but this particular construction contract is that amount.
No, I know, for this improvement, it's 407. Okay. Any questions? So when they're gonna be done with this, Bill?
They're planning on starting April 12th and completing it by mid-June.
And they're gonna close East Sherwood Parkway? They're gonna,
Yeah, East Sherrill Parkway from Fish Hatchery Road to the new roundabout. And then Woods Hollow from East Sherrill Parkway to Research Park Drive. They're going to be milling off a 2-inch surface and replacing the surface with asphalt, as well as constructing some pedestrian bump outs where they're narrowing the road near the intersection of Woods Hollow.
okay. Any questions? Randy?
More for Bill. I'm guessing that traffic will, businesses will have access to, or I should say, residents will have access to the businesses along that. It's not going to be completely closed off, correct? You know, for
Correct.
instance, Agora. Yeah, so that they'll be able to get through. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'll put some more information on our website. We just had a pre-construction meeting today, but it will be open to traffic, 1 lane in each direction. There's going to be a phased construction where they're going to do the north half first, and then the south half, and then they're going to actually close off the from Fish Hatchery Road to Research Park Drive on a weekend for 1 day to repave that area. It's just too congested to be able to get everything in there and do it right. So yeah, we'll have more information on that. We'll get that up on the website.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution R-41-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays. The motion carries. Okay, thank you. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-49-21, authorizing purchase of two 2022 International HV 607 SBA tandem chassis.
I am moved to approve.
Okay, so this one is, who's gonna talk about this? Bill too?
Yep, I can talk about that one.
Okay.
This one and the next resolution, I think it's the next one for the truck body. They're to purchase 2 new tandem trucks for our fleet. One of them is a replacement vehicle that was scheduled for replacement, and one of them is a new one that is associated with the Fish Hatchery Road expansion that we're needing to plow for that area and other city areas. So we were able to secure the 2020 rates for the purchase of those vehicles, and as long as we get them in quickly, we'll get those new vehicles at last year's rates.
I have a question because I don't understand why there are two different, because we have two resolution, and so what are the difference between, there are two different tracks?
The first resolution is for the purchasing of the vehicle itself, the engine, the wheels, and the frame.
What?
And the second, we purchased them separately.
Oh,
The body of the truck, the truck bed, the plow, the salters, that's all another separate bid because they're two separate areas that we get the better price by splitting them up rather than having one quote together.
and we are approving this one there, the price is what we budget in the CIP and the budget?
Yes.
Okay. And we need to have, okay, who's got,
Oh, sorry, we
Gabriela?
get better pricing. We get better pricing because of we work with the county. Is that correct, based on what I've read?
Yes, we go through the county. They've got a state bid for the contract for these, so we bid the county's vehicles.
Awesome.
because, okay, so this one is because of the Fish Hatchery Road, because even though it's gonna continue being a county road, we are gonna be in charge of the maintenance, isn't it?
Correct. The part of the
Agreement.
the cost agreement was
Yeah.
that they would pay a certain percentage of the construction and we would do the maintenance.
Yeah,
plowing.
okay. Any other question? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-49-21, say aye.
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 Nays? The resolution is approved. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-50-21, 2022 tandem plow equipment.
I move to approve.
Okay, this one is. Okay, Bill is, he already explained. Any other question for him? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-50-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The resolution is approved. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-52-21, purchase of pedestrian light for Terravesa, first addition to Terravesa, Green Market Place, East Sherrill Parkway, and Central Park Place.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so Bill is here.
Yes, with this project, we're going to be purchasing about 200 lights for the three areas, Terravesa, and those are all smart code areas. And the smart code requires a pedestrian scale light with kind of a teardrop, or I'm not sure how you would describe it, a globe on top of it for that development. And we went through and vetted, many contractors and vendors regarding this. And this was the light that we had chosen for that new development. The cost of the development for Terravesa, that one is going to be paid for by the developer. So that's a pass-through cost to them. But we need to purchase the lights in order to get the lifetime warranty on the poles. So the poles and the lights. Not a lifetime warranty on the lights, but a lifetime on the poles. So in order to do that, we had to purchase those. And as mentioned, as part of the developer agreement, they will be paying for those through the financing. The other two projects on Green Market and Central Park Place, those are also smart code areas that we're going to be purchasing those lights to install in those areas along those roadways.
So those one, Green Market Place and Central Park Place, so we absorb the cost. It's not pass-through cost.
Sort of. We are special assessing back to the property owners the costs of the improvements for all the roads, utilities, everything in there. So it's sort of a pass-through. We're financing it, and if they pay it back over time, it'll be payments over time.
Because the total cost for all of this is almost $600,000.
Yes.
$689,000. Yeah. So, but we are going to recuperate part of that.
Yes.
The only piece I would add to, if I may, is we did borrow for this. So we borrowed over 10 years, and the intention is that those 10 years worth of special assessment payments that we get back from the benefiting property owners will pay that debt payment back on those bonds that we borrowed. So the cash flow piece is taken care of.
Okay. Any other question? No? Okay. Thank you, Bill. So all those in favor of resolution R-52-21, say aye.
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 Nays? The resolution is approved. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-53-21, authorizing acceptance of construction bid for the pickleball courts at Fayhill Field Park.
I move to approve.
Okay, so who is gonna present this? Scott?
I'll start
okay.
out, and then
Okay.
Scott will take over. The Fitchburg Engineering, we redesigned the project to put out for bid, specifying the individual unit prices for different items through the project. So if we don't use those items, we're not going to pay for them. It was a lot better than the lump sum bid that was previously bid. We put this into a base bid, which is the pickleball courts, I believe, Scott, yes. And
Actually, the base bid would include the pickleball courts and along with the east-west path that would be adjacent to the pickleball courts that would connect both Fahey Fields to McGough Park.
right.
So that's the base bid.
Yep, and then the alternate was for the parking lot, and each of those had the unit prices within there. We did increase the cost of the unit price, the units and the unit price, or the units for the undercutting in case we did run into an issue with the material that was placed out there. Typically, we would only, forecast about 40% of an area that is needing undercut, but given that we weren't 100% sure of how the fill was placed, we put it at 100% of the area. So that may be an area that we see some savings in, that if it's not required to be undercut, the cost would be lower in that area. Just wanted to let you know that we did put this out for bid using the Wisconsin statutes, advertised Wisconsin State Journal through Quest, and received 5 bids, with the lowest responsible bidder being the one for the project. So it met the bidding requirements. Public Works approved the project as it was bid, and I think Scott can take it over from here to for the rest of this.
Sure, and maybe just a bit of additional information. The base bid, as we mentioned, was the pickleball court and then the east-west path. The alternate bid was not only the parking lot, but also the additional paths and culverts in order to connect both the north athletic field and the south athletic field to the facility. So that was also included in the alternate bid. And then just an additional comment, the Park Commission did approve the project in its entirety also at their last Park Commission meeting. I will state that there was a motion to not accept the alternate bid, which was seconded, but then that motion failed. So then they went back to the original motion, which recommended approval of both the base bid and the alternate bid.
Okay. So, Randy.
This is a question. Well, I guess anybody can answer it, but all of the dollar amounts that are listed, that are broken out, itemized, it is coming from park fees, correct? I mean, for the most part, it's not direct taxpayer dollars.
I'd like to answer that one if I may. So that is all coming from park fees, but today we discovered that there's a bit of a miscommunication between Scott and I. So we do need to recommend a change in some of those dollar amounts before it gets approved by council, just from the budget amendment piece. So it will be paid for by park fees. It's just a matter of a different bucket that we would like to show, and I can go through that whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. You're going to do that this evening?
Yeah. Yep. So
Okay.
if you like a little bit more detailed out. So when the pre-approval was first put together, there was a couple of capital projects that hadn't been reflected yet as far as being paid for out of those Fahey Fields park fees. So that needs to be accounted for, and we can't overspend those Fahey park fees. So that dollar amount, instead of the 240, I'd like that to be 105,166. And then the difference we would propose would come out of the same miscellaneous bucket. So the last item on there, where I think it's the 92,000, that would come from that amount instead. And then I also had a much smaller problem on the miscellaneous amount. So there was the miscellaneous amount of the $10,456. Because I hadn't reclassified the interest revenue yet, which I did as part of the audit, that number is off a little bit also. So instead of the 10,000 number, I need that to be 3,393. and would propose that the difference of that also come out of that same miscellaneous bucket. All this happened very recently, so I will email that out to all of you guys at council so that you have what those specific numbers are, and would request that you amend the resolution to include the budget amendment as discussed by the finance director.
They are significant decrease in dollars.
So it's the total project is the same. We're actually spending money out of the general bucket instead of out of those particular buckets.
Got it.
And,
Okay.
and I might, if I could, Misty, there will be some additional dollars that are going to be brought in as the Fahey Field development continues to develop. So there will be some additional dollars brought in to replenish that account, if you would.
So, okay, so I have a question. How much money we have in the general, in the general fund for this part dedication fee?
Yeah, so of course, with every time you ask me a question, there's a complicated answer. So I'd like to take a step back and kind of talk about the two different buckets that we have. So park fees, actually there's four buckets. So park fees are split into park improvement fees and then park fees in lieu of land dedication. So those two buckets exist in the fees that we collect. There also was a law change in relatively recently, a few years ago. So we have those two buckets collected before the law changed, and then we have those two buckets after the law changed. So we kind of have four different categories, all that are different account numbers that we track. So Julia, I think what you're asking is just how much in total of the old money, I guess, that we haven't spent yet, because those aren't for new parks necessarily. We had at the end of 2020, 1.27 million, so almost 1.3 million. But we do have some projects that we are expecting to pay for out of that. So that would be the pickleball courts. We knew that 320 was coming out of there. There's the inclusive playground that's been earmarked already. And then there's some Nine Spring golf course improvements that are earmarked in the CIP over the next 10 years. And then this additional pickleball court money that we're talking about now. So if you back all of that out of the old money, I'll call it, before that law change, we will have $430,000 left in that bucket. We also have the new money, which again has the park improvement fees and the land dedication, but it's the new stuff. We have, after we back out the additional pickleball money, we'll have about $160,000 plus another 1.5. So we'll have about 1.7 left there. But there are some big projects, big dollar amounts that we've received recently that we do plan to spend. So an example would be, we got from Limestone Ridge Apartments, we got almost $400,000 from them in park fees and land dedication. And then some big dollar amounts from Stoner Prairie Park. You'll see on the council meeting tonight that there's an ad hoc committee that's being created for that Stoner Prairie Park. So some of that money is already planned to be spent, isn't available. So I think your question, Julia, is that old money.
Yeah, because I am asking all this question because I have two projects in the pipeline that we are going to use part dedication fee, and I want to know, I want to be sure that we are using this money equitable, you know what I mean, in all the parks that are, all the projects that are coming, and I want to be sure that because I saw the number during the CIP plan that they provided to me about how much money was in the fund, and now what you are presenting is like the amount is lower, you know what I mean? So, and I want to know why, and and there are other projects like the juice plant is one, and the senior housing on Fish Hatchery also. So this is what I want to have an idea exactly how much money are there in the old bucket, in the new bucket. Mm-hmm. Because, I am all in favor of the pickleball court, I don't have any issue, but my issue is about the funding, okay? Because, like 3 years ago, I the only way that the Common Council will approve the inclusive playground is it was 50-50. 50% with private donation and 50% the city will pay, And it has been 3 years and we are still working to get the money. And then, you see the pickleball coming, and the pickleball, we don't have any issue to grab everything from the park dedication fee park fund and fund the whole thing, So so this is what I want to be, I think we need to be intentional on how we are using these funds, and I think it's great that we have this project in phases, because it's a project in a Field Park, so we should use all the money from that subdivision coming to fund the park, and also there is for the Mago Park, because it's part of the Mago area. But I am concerned now that that instead of we need to go to the park dedication fund, the general fund, the amount is kind of double, isn't it? Yeah, that we need to, the difference is going to be much bigger. So that one is my I need to make this comment because I want to understand how we are funding this park. What is the reasoning behind that some parks we need to find private donation to do it, and other ones, no, it's all the money there, we can use it. So, okay, Gabriela?
Scott, you said that Fahey Fields is still under construction and therefore we can anticipate more funding. Do we have any sense of how, what the scale of that is? Are we going to see another 200,000, or is it going to be on the order of a couple of tens of thousands of dollars?
I would, that's a hard question, Gabriela, but I would think it would be more in the tens of thousands, because the park improvement fees are less than the fee in lieu of parkland dedication. And I believe that development has already fulfilled their parkland dedication. But don't quote me on that. So there could be a combination of both fee in lieu of parkland dedication along with park improvement fees, because there's no additional space for additional parklands. But certainly I'd be remiss to say $250,000 less. I guess I would prefer to be, a little bit more conservative, so I don't, give inaccurate information.
Yeah.
But I guess the point is that there's still going to be dollars that are going to be coming into to that account.
Scott, can you put a map there so we can, because I want to ask a couple of questions regarding the project. You don't have a map?
Was there a map in the packet?
No.
I don't have one then.
Okay.
I can get one, just give me a minute.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, my other question is, Scott, we are building a court, so it's, and my question to you is, without light, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And because we are in Wisconsin and the fall, at 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's not dark, why we decided to build, if we want to, do tournament, I was doing research on most of these pickleball courts that they are used by tournament. They all have lights and they're using LED. Why we didn't decide to add the light? Why we are going, so the question is, because we have a parking lot in front of the court. We have 2 parking lots. If you look the area of there are already 2 parking lots there. We are going to build another parking lot. My question is, why we don't use the money from the parking lot to put a light to the court? You know what I mean? So I want to understand what is the reasoning about that.
Sure, and maybe a couple different comments regarding that, Julia. when we promoted the project to the neighbors, it was a case of we didn't include the court lighting just because we felt it might be intrusive and those kinds of things. But again, that's not to say that in the future we could potentially add lights to the project. What is interesting is the Pickleball Association. I did attend a Zoom meeting where they had some questions for me. They're in the understanding that why don't we build 12 kind of thing. But then they also indicated that preferably there should be a 4-foot fence in between each of the courts. And I guess my response to them is, the city, what we're doing is we're providing the base facility, if you would. And certainly if the Pickleball Association, you indicated the idea of fundraising and those kinds of things, that could be something that the pickleball community could be involved in and adding or providing some donations so that we could include those additional amenities, including the lights. I will tell you that we are looking to propose in the CIP, because it was actually brought up at the Park Commission, the idea of some kind of path lighting and a little bit of lighting of the parking lot, which in turn would kind of splash, towards the pickleball courts, if you would. And then just a general comment. I know and even at the Park Commission, there was questions in regards for the need of the parking lot. And I guess I just would call everyone's attention to that. All of the facilities we have within the parks department and our holdings do have, parking lots adjacent to them as a supplementary amenity. That, we've got the splash pad in the parking lot. We've got, the dog park in the parking lot. We actually have the tennis courts on the east end of McGaw that has a parking lot. Dowley Bike Hub, and I really, and I guess what I wanted to point out, that the parking lot is going to not only provide the parking for the pickleball, but also the expansion to the north and the south, which are athletic fields, which will, is going to in the future garner, people parking and those kinds of things. So, I guess to the idea that a parking lot isn't needed, I guess I would push back in that, all of the park, Kids Crossing is another one.
I understand that, but this is not the picture that I want. Do you have another picture where you show that where the other parking?
Bill, are you on the iDrive, Bill?
Yeah, I'm there.
If you go to Fahey Fields.
Yeah.
iDrive. There's a couple aerials. Park and Rec Parks, Park and Open Space Facilities. Apologize. Then Fahey Fields, pickleball courts, or actually go back to Fahey Fields, Bill.
Why don't you open it up and share it? You're there.
Oh, I've got it there. How do I share it? Boy, that's so how do I do that?
On the bottom of your screen, there's a little
share screen.
Yep.
Oh, look at that. There it is. Look at that.
Okay. So can you tell?
That's crazy.
Yeah, where the pickleball is gonna be? Where it's gonna be that?
Can you see my pointer too? Actually.
Yes, we see it.
Wow. The parking lot, the access is going to come in here, and the parking lot will be. Well, you looked at that other picture that Bill had. Will kind of be in this area. The pickleball courts themselves will go to the north. And then if you look at that drawing, the culverts here, what we're doing is we're grabbing a path and it's coming, put a culvert here, path to connect the south, and then come back this way. So the athletic fields here will be accessible. The same thing down here. And
okay,
and another thing that was kind of brought up at the Park Commission is you can kind of see the cars. They'll come in this way. And what's nice about these parking lots is they go they're able to access the fields that they're getting to without crossing traffic. If you put, pickleball people park here, and then, they may have to walk across this traffic potentially, and that is a jaunt to get there. So
but what I want everyone to see that there are some parking lots looking at the pickleball court. How many stalls there? Approximately 250 stalls are there.
I would guess that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I did the numbers. Yeah, and then so my question is that we already have parking lot beside the proposed, piece of land for the, for the.
And maybe just as an additional, if you're familiar over on the east, the tennis courts are over
the
here.
tennis.
We do have an additional parking lot over there for those customers. And if on softball nights and things like that, these parking lots they're full. There's
But the other thing I want to ask you another question, Scott.
Sure.
I imagine that this parking lot, this piece of land is connected to a lot of bike paths. So people from Fitchburg want to come to play, and we want to be more like, we want to ensure that people start using more bicycles. We are a bicycle community. We have bike paths. So, if people from the city can come to this park using the bike paths, they don't, you know what I mean? So,
Absolutely.
Okay. So, so this is what I was surprised when I saw that the proximity that the pickleball courts are already with the existing parking lot.
Yeah, it may be deceiving the distance between those two, but it is a distance. And like I say, again, the parking lot is really a support facility for both the pickleball and the northern and southern fields that we're going to eventually have activities in.
Any more questions?
So how do I don't want to lose the meeting. Oh, stop share. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Can you show that in when we discuss in council? Can you show the map too? Okay.
Well, the thing is, what I was looking to do is try to get home by 7:30 and then view it on my phone for the council meeting. So I can stick around and then be able to do that. That's for sure.
God, if you send me the link, I can be prepared to share it.
Oh, perfect.
Just send me
just
the link.
just the path or the file.
No, just the path.
Oh, the path. Very good. Thank you, Misty. Thank you.
Well, if I can jump in, is it okay if I jump in?
Yes. You need to raise your hand.
Yeah. I'm just trying to go back and so there are 4 different types of park fees. And I just want to get a sense of where that money is coming from and what that money can be used for. So there's park improvement fees under the old rules, park improvement fees under the new rules.
Yep.
Fees in lieu of land dedication under the old rules, fees in lieu of land dedication under the new rules. I assume that the money comes in the same way. Is that right?
Correct. So the money comes from developments and as a requirement under the subdivision improvement agreement that they are required to provide the park improvement fee and then either give land or the park fee in lieu of land dedication or a combination of the two. So all of the money comes from developers. And then all of the money, old rules, new rules, has to be spent on a project that is needed because of the development. So the reason why these pickleball courts are able to be spent with all of the generic park improvement fee money or park fee money is because it's housed at McGaw, which is a community park, and those pickleball courts are the only ones we have. So they're going to draw people from across the city. So whether it's a subdivision over on the south side of the city or a subdivision on the north side of the city or wherever it was, those residents will be drawn into this project. So the fees that those residents or that subdivision paid can be used for that project because it will benefit that development.
Okay. So the park so which is which? So like the park improvement fees, is that restricted to the location?
So
Or
both of them have the same rules, but
Oh.
it has to be for a project that benefits that development. So if there's a park or if there isn't a park in that direct area, then it could be used for something else that is a bigger draw that would still benefit that particular development that paid the fees. And that's the same regardless of the bucket that you're in.
But the park improvement fees are designated for a specific park.
But if
Okay.
for whatever reason there's some left over, then under the ordinances, you could spend it on something else that draws those residents.
So when we say that the Fahey Fields funds, those are park improvement fees dedicated to Fahey Fields.
Park improvement fees and land or fees in lieu of land dedication. It's both buckets, but it's from Fahey Fields development.
Okay.
Fahey Fields was deficient by about 12 acres of parkland dedication. So we received $65,000 per acre in fee in lieu of parkland dedication, give or take. So you take 65,000 times 12, that's $780,000. And I might be off a little bit, but they were deficient in parkland, so we received that fee in lieu of parkland dedication specifically for that development.
Okay. And so we started with around $750,000 and now we're looking at $105,000 left. So we've already spent $600,000 in that area. Is that right?
So I don't have the history of it accessible. I can get that obviously as far as how much we started with.
I guess what I'm trying to get at here is that there's only so many fees, and I think this is obviously there's a lot of enthusiasm for this project. It sounds like a fun sport. I think I would go out and give it a try. But in terms of like priorities, I think providing park space to a part of the community that has very little park space is more important to me than adding an additional amenity in the near term to this park that has a lot of amenities. So I guess the fact that we have even less money in those Fahey Fields funds that's dedicated to this area than we did have before. So if my understanding is correct, we have to dip even further into the funds that could be used in any of the community parks.
Correct.
So like an extra 135,000, even above and beyond what the original proposal was from those fees that could be used at McKee, at Nine Springs, or elsewhere in McGaw. Okay.
And I look back on my comments in July of 2017, and per those comments, we were to receive $623,520 in fee in lieu of parkland dedication. And then you add that to, at one point, we had $265,000 in park improvement fees. So you had 623,520 plus 265,000. That equals $888,520
For that Fahey Fields dedicated.
for that development. Yeah.
But we're down to about 105,000 for use.
No, see what happened in the old dollars, they went into the general fee in lieu of parkland dedication, which we had, at the end of 2020 was $862,000.
Hey, Scott, would it be helpful if I share my screen?
Please.
Just so we
Yeah,
can all see some numbers?
Yeah.
So, and sorry to interrupt you, Scott, but part of the problem too is that old money, even from an accounting perspective, we have records, but it's not set up in a way that's easy to answer these questions. The new money is just structurally set up in a way to answer that a little bit better. So just to give you some bearings, so this is the old money, and it's split by all of the different developments that we have. And then there's this park dedication line. That's all those park fees in lieu of land dedication money. So this was the balance as of the first of the year, money we got in and spent during 2020, and what the balance is. So there's that 105 number you were mentioning, Gabriella. And then the blue section is the projects that we have earmarked, and then how much would be left afterwards. So I think part of the confusion is because, like where Scott was going, where the old way, that other Fahey Fields money was just plopped into this bucket as well, and it's not parsed out.
And what, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
But see, then the 97,591, that's the number that we're going to increase in order to come up with the difference in the park improvement fees that we miscommunicated about.
Yeah, we are going to increase because we need to do the parking lot. Because we can cover the pickleball courts.
We can cover it all, actually.
And then if
I know that we can cover all, but my question is, we are going more to there are other projects in the pipeline, that also we need to be sure that they are going to get funded, or they're going to have some fund left. And the idea is, we have the base bid for the court is $298,000, $300,000. This is how much it's going to cost to do the court, isn't it? The 8th one. And then we want to add the bike path, we want to add the parking lot, we want to add the culvert. And then then when it's getting expensive, this project. Randy, do you have a question?
Yes, you're referencing some additional projects. And Misty, you're so detailed in all of your work. Do you have the projects listed that Julia is referencing?
I got an email from Scott. This is what I have everything split, because I couldn't find that in the package.
May I answer that, Julia?
Yes.
So the blue section here, these are the ones that we know from the old money are coming in place. And then in the CIP, there's this Nine Springs Golf Course money, and then the hub in particular is that other piece of the pie that's in there, and that's not accounted for on these spreadsheets, but is a piece of it also. And then also, if I may too, I'd like to show you kind of the new money bucket. So this was the old money bucket. This is the new money. And so you can see again split. This is the park improvement fees. This is the land dedication, or in lieu of land dedication, and it's all split by development. So you can see what those amounts are. And then there's some projects that are deferred. So you brought up the old juice plant. So we haven't collected this money yet, but we are expecting to get it once we are ready to move forward on a project. So between these two categories, we have in hand 1.7 million, plus we're expecting another 1.3 million when the projects are ready.
So based on everything that you have listed here, all projects are covered, cared for, or will be.
Pickleball for sure. The hub, there's a lot of development still moving forward. So I don't recall the exact dollar amounts in the CIP. I can look that up for council, but I would suspect that the portion that would be allocable should be able to be covered between what we have currently or what we hope will be received in the next few years. I guess, Scott, do you have a different gut on it?
Nope, I would agree. I would agree. And I think it's, I think it might be 2.6 for the phase one of the hub.
Okay, so.
I might add that that's, you know, there's a lot of different funding and grant opportunities for phase one of the hub, which certainly we're going to apply for and hopefully be successful with.
But the hub, but that part of the hub has to be a community park, and this is what we discussed in the capital improvement plan, and this is what the assumption that the piece of land is part of the golf. So we need to be sure that we can use, you know, other parks, in, you know, dedication fee in that area too. That one is another conversation, but my question is, you know, my question is that when council approved this project way back, it was $320,000. And then when it came back to council the last time, the council rejected because there were added a lot of other stuff that they make this project double the cost, the initial approval. And then the council, this, you know, when I think one of the compromise was go back and try to make it in phases. This is why the project is coming in phases, you know, like, or, you know, we can do this first and then we can do the other one, or, you know what I mean? So this is what we have in the memo here is say that we have two portions. We have the base bid that is to build the $298,000 is for the 8 pickleball court, and the alternate one is the parking lot plus the other amenity, you know, the path. So the question that we have in front of us as a finance committee is that if we are going to approve the whole package, the two, you know, or we are fine with that, or if we are going to make any recommendation to council to say, you know, let's do the pickleball court, and then we do the parking lot, or we accept the whole package. My preference it will be to use the money from the parking lot to put lights to the court, because then they can become more attractive for tournament, for more use. I live 2 blocks away from the McKee Farm Park, and the tennis court, they have light. And I remember it was December, the weather was fine, there was no snow, and people were playing tennis up to December, you know, at night. So, and this is, you know, if we are going to make it right, why we don't make it right, you know, put the light. I don't know. That one is, this one is one of my question that I have, you know, because we have the parking lot in front. You know, we already have a parking lot. Maybe we can put the parking lot in the CIP plan this summer, you know, to build that in the future. Or maybe the friend of the pickleball can, you know, look for private donation to do the parking lot, like I am doing with inclusive playground. You know what I mean? Yeah, Gabriela?
What is the downside of not doing, so I appreciate that, Bill, that your engineers bid it out in a line item. What is the downside of, is there a downside to choosing to not move forward with the parking lot, that alternative one section at this point in time? Is there a downside to not, like, is there going to be additional costs that we're going to have to incur, or is because of the way you bid it, we could choose to just do the pickleball courts, and then maybe next year, future year, go with alternative one as an add-on?
I think there would be some increased costs for an additional mobilization for new contractors to come into the area and do the new grading. It's just an economy of scale when you have everything being done at once to grade the site, to put down the base, just to have it, happen twice. You take a risk with cost increases.
Because they would do that whole area all at once
Right.
versus just the pickleball courts and then later come back and grade for the parking lot.
Right.
Okay, so, do you want to have continue the discussion in council? Are you ready to vote for this?
I'm ready.
I'm, to be honest, I'm still uncertain, but
My recommendation, is to put an amendment and instead of doing the parking lot, put the lights.
I'm for the parking lot. I feel it's like a foundation to a building. You've got your foundation, just as Bill mentioned, and I think the lights can come later. But I do understand your concerns, though, Julia.
Okay. So, okay, so, where I am? Here. So we need to move forward because it's 6:44, so.
no, okay, I'm okay to vote. Yep, let's do it.
Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-53-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstention? So who say aye?
I said aye. Yeah.
Okay, so the motion carries. Okay, thank you. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-55-21, authorizing budget amendment to allow for change order to Lake Barney stormwater study.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so Bill?
Yes, we're asking for an approval for a budget amendment and a change order for the Lake Barney study. Typically, we include a contingency line item in our pre-approvals for things that come up. This was an item that was not included in the original proposal, but was necessary to complete the study. So we're asking for approval of the budget amendment and the change order.
Okay, so the money is coming from the Lacey Seminole Regional Stormwater Project. How are we gonna pay for that? Like, coming from that project?
Right.
So there are two pieces to that project. There's a TID funded piece and then a stormwater rate funded piece. So
Okay.
Just be the stormwater rate funded piece that would be moved over to the stormwater project.
So how much is the amount that we are approving here? $66,000?
6,000.
Oh, 6,000, okay. Any other question?
Randy has one.
Randy?
What does this do to the Lacey Seminole? The money from where we're transferring the money from. What does it do for that fund? Do we have? Are we sufficient? And we're not creating a deficit on that side, are we?
No, we're not.
Is there additional funding? I mean, is there just adequate dollars? And so we have some additional dollars and we can transfer over. So is what you're
Right.
saying? Okay.
Yes.
All right. I have another question as well, Julia.
Yes.
Okay. What does, I know a constituent has sent in some concerns. What, does this limit us? If this is approved this evening and approved by council, does this limit us from moving forward with the Lacey Road reconstruction project at all? If this is approved?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Any other question? No? Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-55/21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The resolution is approved. Next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-56/21, amending the 2021 budget for various funds, 2020 carryovers.
I move to approve.
So this one is for Misty.
Yep, so this is the annual process that we go through. So there were guidelines. I included those in the packet so you could see what those were. But this carryover process is designed for things that were budgeted in 2020 that were very project specific. And for some unusual circumstance, that project wasn't able to get done in 2020. And now we want to be able to allow that project to happen in 2021. So that's what this is it's a budget amendment for 2021 to basically authorize the use of those funds to continue that project, even though it wasn't done in 2020 as originally expected. It's a lot, but a lot of it is capital project numbers. This is kind of just the budgeting strategy that we use here at the city is we will budget for construction, for example, to all happen in 1 year. Fitchburg Road is a great example. We budgeted for a lot of it to happen in 1 year. We all knew that that wasn't going to happen all in 1 year. And then you carry it over to the next year so that you know that you have the money that you need. And then this carryover process will go as long as the project continues to need that money. So yes, it's a big dollar amount, but it's not surprising, I guess, especially not to me. And then the operating piece of it is much smaller and is mostly driven by pavement marking and other road improvement projects, and then the Healthy Neighborhoods grants that were either not awarded or were awarded but not earned yet by the grantor or grantee.
So is it I can see that in the balance sheet, this money is sitting in the prepay expenses, something like that.
Not in government, it's not, no.
I know, but in my mind, you know what I mean? Like
In your world,
already there.
in non-government, yes, it would be a payable account, but for us, it's not yet. Mm-hmm.
Any other question? I think this year is bigger the amount than previous year, isn't it?
Yeah, but we had some really big construction projects. I mean, McKee Road was 3.7 million.
Yeah.
We bumped it up, and then there's some really big ones on the water and sewer side too. That just a relatively unusual legacy type project. So yes, it is much larger.
Yeah, than previous year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so all of in favor of resolution R-56/21, say aye.
Aye.
Nay, the resolution is approved. So next, I need a motion to approve resolution R-57/21, approving the first amendment to the agreement for repayment of non-developer project cost.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so who is this?
I can start this one.
Okay.
So this is the Lacey Road project component of the Promega development agreement. So there are 3 agreements that we had with Promega that needs to be amended because of the delay in Lacey Road. The development agreement, which included the TIF funding, has already been approved and is all done. After that happened, there were these 2 other agreements that also need to get changed just for that date to allow for the delay that we've seen in Lacey Road. So these 2, this one and then the next one, I would consider them to be somewhat housekeeping items because you have already approved it on that development agreement, and we're just cleaning it up with these other items. So when these agreements first came forward, we thought Lacey Road would be all done in 2021, but now we're expecting construction design to happen in 2021, construction in 2022, possibly into 2023, and wanted to give that flexibility to the agreement.
So practically, what we're doing here, Mr., is changing the date.
Correct.
Okay. Any other question?
Yeah, I think we have a public comment. Is that
No, I think it's coming in the
next one?
Next one.
Hello, this is Jay. I really
Oh.
appreciate the opportunity to participate in this, and I was unaware of the fact that this matter that you're discussing right now may have a bearing on the next matter, but I don't know the details. So Could we discuss the next one as well before we take action on either of them? Or do you prefer just proceeding on this one before you move on?
I think
Right now,
because
we do have a motion on the floor to approve this resolution.
and I think this one is only a housekeeping item, is changing the date,
Okay,
okay?
sure.
Okay. One more minute. Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-57-21, say aye.
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 Nays, the motion carries. Okay, so next I need a motion to approve resolution R-58-21, approving the second amendment to the agreement for subdivision improvements in the Payne and Dollar CSM, and this one is a direct referral. Okay, so,
Oh, I need a motion.
second.
I move to approve.
Okay. So next, this one is,
So this is, or did you want to do public comment first?
yeah, let's do public comment. Okay, Jay, can you introduce yourself and your address and what is the matter that you want to speak on this resolution?
Sure, I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with this Zoom technology and how this meeting came together. And my reason for appearing this evening is that I learned, probably because I didn't look at the agendas earlier than today, that this matter is on your agenda tonight. And a number of people recently became aware of concerns about the scope for the Lacey Road reconstruction project, that there was a public involvement meeting on February 17th, where the proposal was unveiled by city staff and consultants. And there have been a number of questions, and I think all of you have received copies of those questions that have been submitted. And we appreciate the effort that the city staff and consultants are undertaking to prepare a response to all those questions. But to make a long story short, what's going on here is that we believe, a number of citizens believe that this project needs to be downsized. There are features of it that are not necessary and are going to increase the costs. And so we hope that eventually it will become apparent that some changes need to be made. And our concern with this particular agenda item tonight is that is in any way approval of this going to compromise the council's ability to downsize the project that's been proposed on February 17th. There hasn't been any significant public involvement in this project prior to the 17th. People in the area learned of it on February 15th. Apparently there was a posting on the website and publication in the paper about 10 days before, but the notice wasn't sent out to the neighborhood associations until 2 days before the meeting on the 17th. And again, we're operating in good faith. We're sure the city staff and consultants are, but there's a lot of questions about this project. And what we don't want to see happen is any approvals granted now that compromise the ability of the council to basically adjust the components or downsize this project. One other feature of this project is we've learned that there's apparently a T, I'm not sure exactly what that acronym stands for, but there's a $1 million T grant for the project. And that's good. That'll save the taxpayers $1 million. But there's one issue. Are the taxpayers going to have to spend $2 million to get $1 million? That means where taxpayers are actually going to have to cough up another $1 million. And the 8-foot buffered bike lanes on both sides of the proposal unveiled on February 17th really are really questioned by a lot of people. Why can't a 10-foot wide multi-use path on the north side of Lacey Road be fully adequate for people who are going to use that corridor for the foreseeable future? Another component of this project is a 5-foot sidewalk and a 7-foot terrace on the south side that who knows how much that's going to cost given constraints on this corridor in terms of terrain and so on. And why would we put a 5-foot sidewalk on the south side of Lacey Road? There's nothing there for a 1.3 miles. So these are the issues that we hope can be resolved, and we'd like to see that happen before any irrevocable commitments are made to this project. So this particular, haven't had a chance to study this, haven't had a chance to inquire about it, but I would hope the council is very committed to making sure that if they want to change the scope of this project, they have the ability to do that. And we don't want to be in a position of a year from now, or not 3 months, 4 months, somebody saying, well, you know, back in March, you approved this agreement with Payne and Dolan that requires this intersection to be completed by the end of 2022. And therefore, you can't ask for these changes because we've already committed to making, to developing plans and specs for what we unveiled on February 17th. That's what we want to avoid. And
Okay.
thank you for listening.
Yeah, you have your 3 minutes.
Okay.
More than that.
No, I really appreciate that.
No, it's fine. Thank you for your input. So I don't know, maybe Bill and Misty can say, but what my understanding as an alder is that, you know, it was the first meeting that the city had with the neighbors and the consultant to gather all the information that you guys are providing. And the council hasn't seen yet the final product that is going to come to us yet. I don't know when, maybe it's going to take a couple of months, I imagine, because this didn't take forever. But I will imagine that there are going to be more neighborhood meetings to address all the neighbors' comments that they are coming. But my understanding is we are changing the date here, isn't it? We are not changing any design or component, or isn't it, Misty?
This agreement would change the date, would extend the date by until the end of 2022.
Yeah.
The question is the answer to the questions we've posed, and whether the council does want to amend the scope of the project. And if you approve, I don't know the answer to this. I'm just posing the question. Is it prudent to approve this change, not knowing what the scope of this project is? That's the issue.
Okay. Bill, can you answer that question?
Yeah, the subdivision improvement agreement is pretty open to what is required as far as the road. It just says that they're required to put in the road and base course according to the selected cross section. So we haven't selected the cross section, you know, per se, but we have a pretty good idea what it should be. But we'll be bringing that forward to the council and the Transportation and Transit Commission with regard to that. So there will be opportunity to comment on that cross section that we want to go forward with. But the only thing that is directly impacted is that there is a pathway required, a 10-foot pathway required along the plat limits in accordance with the North Stoner Prairie Plan. So it would go along Lacey Road through the limits of the plat up the hill to connect up to Commerce Drive. So that's the only thing in there that is specific to the roadway section.
And the document that we have right now in front of us, that is there? I didn't.
It's just an amendment to the agreement that would just change the date.
The date, okay.
The original subdivision improvement agreement has in there what's required for the streets and the sidewalks, and it's just the plat area that Promega had platted. And so they're required to put in those improvements. It would be on the north side of Lacey Road, including Lacey Road.
So just to clarify, this doesn't lock us into any sort of design. This is just related to the contract with the developers that are part of the project.
Right. So it's just changing the dates from the original agreement that was completed back in 2019.
I don't know, can Jay continue ask question? I don't think so, isn't it? No.
Oh, I would also remind that, first of all, we're past our time, so public safety
Yeah.
has their meeting too, so we do need to move forward.
Yeah.
Plus, keep in mind, finance committee is not a final say.
Yeah.
Finance committee simply makes a recommendation to council. So I would encourage Mr. Hawkins to save his comments for council and then bring it up at that point before the final vote is made.
But I want you to clarify something, Mister, about the T grant. The T grant is not like we need to invest 2 million to get one, isn't it?
So Bill can actually answer that probably a little bit better than me. There are requirements as far as the T grant that you have to meet certain pieces of it, but I don't know the specifics of it. And that also is not on the agenda. So I would encourage you to not have that
Okay.
now.
Okay, so we can continue the conversation in council. Okay, Jay?
Yeah,
So,
thank you, thank you.
okay, thank you. So all those in favor of resolution R-58-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the motion is approved. So next I need a motion to approve resolution R-60-21 is approving the first amendment to the development agreement with Promega TID number 12.
Motion to approve.
Okay, so that one is, who's gonna speak about this?
This is me. So this is another Promega building, but it's a different one. So before we were in TID 9, which is the Lacey Seminole. Now we're in TID 12, which is the building over by City Hall. So the city did receive a $1 million T grant for the Fahey Glen extension. We actually got the $1 million check today. And what we would like to do is pass on the bulk of that grant to Promega because they're the ones that paid for that road, and then reduce the amount of TID money that they'll get by the same amount that we're going to pass on of this grant. So the total city money is the same. It's basically just coming out of the T grant bucket instead of the TID bucket. Benefit to the city is we pay less in interest because we're paying it up front. Benefit to Promega is they get their money sooner because they're going to get nearly $1 million right away. So it's a great chance for that, but we need to have that memorialized in the agreement before we can do that.
Okay, so this one is pretty simple. Any question? No? All those in favor of resolution R-60-21, say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the resolution is approved. So next we are at the final of our agenda. So we are coming through the announcement, and our next meeting is going to be March 23rd, 2021. And now I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays, the meeting is adjourned at 7:05. So see you.